All right, we are live. I tell you guys, we just finished a really good game, second in a row, really good games. Grandview versus Malakoff. What do you think about it?
Well, like you said, I mean, when I was driving to the stadium, I told Grant earlier, I said, man, I hope this weekend just a bunch of blowouts. I mean, you had 76 to 30, and
Right.
and then the Mason New Deal game, and then everybody thought the Newton Canadian game was going to be a blowout like that too, and it turned out to be a really, really good game. This was a great game, and, it ended up being 14 points, but I mean, it was neck and neck all the way through, just like watching a Rocky. Watching Creed and Rocky just stand there and throw haymakers at each other for 15 rounds.
And it started off a little slow, and I was thinking, this is going to be kind of so-so, but it got exciting.
Yeah, it might have been, both those teams, first ever time in the state state championship game. The kids might kind of, feeling it out a little bit, and then like Malakoff had that pick six, and there was like, okay, now it's okay to make a play, and then Grandview had to go answer, and they did on that drive. They went right down the field and scored and tied it right back up.
I think a big offensive thing for Grandview here was Elijah Golden tonight, 23 of 103 yards rushing. I think a lot of eyes and a lot of keys were on Yentz, right, the quarterback, and he got his, but they made him earn it. 22 of 89 rushing. So I think Elijah Golden though was the key offensively.
Golden actually just passed him midway through the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So Yentz was leading rushing, and of course passing. He was the kick returner. He was the punter. He was the leading tackler.
And that's why small school football is cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I was watching it when the kid got the defensive player of the game and the offensive player of the game. I was like, that doesn't happen in the 6A. Your quarterback's not out there playing free safety.
Yeah,
and with touchdown saving tackles and like he did, he played great. The Golden kid, I mean, was. All right, it's 3rd and 2. Here we go. Everybody knew who was getting the ball, and he's carrying people for 2-3 yards of play and doing whatever he had to do to get a first down.
How about that Grandview defense holding Malakoff just 102 yards rushing? They never let R.J. Carr or Kiwi Rose get loose on him. Carr was 15 of 69 rushing. Kiwi Rose was 4 of 7. That speaks volumes of that front seven for Grandview.
Polar opposite from Wednesday night to Thursday night. You had Mart who couldn't stay out of the end zone, ripping off 45-yard runs. And then this game was more of a, Alabama Clemson game where it's 4 yards to carry, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, first down. And then it's a 15-yard reception was a big play.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those kids just kept playing, kept fighting, and I mean until there's 6 minutes left of the fourth quarter, it's anybody's game. And it was anybody's game with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Well, even at the very end, what'd you think of that 4th down call where they throw?
It's 4th down. I mean, if you don't get it right there, the clock's going to stop anyway.
Yeah.
You have a 6'7" tight end. Let him go make a play. Exactly. I mean, so you either score or you get stopped there. The clock stops with 20 seconds left, and Malakoff has to go 90 yards in 20 seconds with no timeouts left. So, hey, roll the dice, get after it. I got a guy that looks like he should be playing for the Mavericks, playing tight end for me. So let him go. Let him throw the ball.
Jump ball.
I was totally expecting a run though, because that's what they had been doing. And you burn clock, then they boom, just drop it in there, score, and suddenly it looks like a bigger blowout than it was.
And that's why it worked. Yeah, because everybody else was expecting a run too.
We had kind of talked off air down before the game about that Grandview defense and how money they are on 4th downs.
Yeah.
And they were. Listen to this. Malakoff was 0 of 3 on 4th down conversions. They were only 2 of 9 on 3rd down. I mean. That Zebra defense steps up when they've got to get the stops.
That's on. That's on our goal board in our hallway. The defensive goal board is win 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
Get off the field, and that's what our defense coordinator always had when we were up there working on Sunday. We'll talk about what I need to hold them to, how many I need to score, yada yada yada, and that's what I always say. Just get them off the field, and if you can get them off the field on 3rd down and especially on 4th down, not only 4th down conversions are just. Our momentum. All right, we got it. Let's go. We got to get it. And it's just so deflating to the defense, especially when it's like 4th and 6, 4th and 7, and they hit an 8-yard run or a pass or whatever.
So, Coach,
it's just.
Let me ask you this: it seems like over the last 2 days, we've seen more teams go for it on fourth down in their own territory than I've seen in a while.
You know, it really just is a feel of the game. I mean, if you think, you know, you got to feel your defense out. If you think, hey, we can stop them here, you know, they're not big playing us. They're not doing this, but you know, I like to do that. If we get a stop, and we get a short field. You know, you try to hit them deep right there, and it can be a big momentum swing, but it's the last state championship game.
It's the last
game,
right.
you know, and I told when we were in the playoffs still this year, I told somebody when it looked like who we were going to be playing against, I said, you know, we're going to have to double down on 12, and we're going to have to hit on 17 a few times. You know, this is the playoffs, man.
Yeah.
You take your chances, you get after it, and if you lose, you lose. You're trying to win the game. I mean, I can respect that with coaches, man. That's what it's all about. You're trying to win this big game, you know.
Here's another stat that jumps out at me is red zone scoring chances. Grandview 4-4 in the red zone. Malakoff 1 for 2.
Yeah, that's
you know, that's buckling down.
4 touchdowns is better than 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty good.
That's
I've
right.
heard that.
And let's see here. Grandview outgained Malakoff 363 to 308 in total yards. So it's kind of the story of the game.
Yeah.
I was impressed. I said it to you when we were sitting. I was impressed with Grandview's offensive line. I mean, both offensive lines were really good. But Grandview's, I was just watching their technique and stuff. They kept their shoulders square, parallel to the line of scrimmage, which allows them to come off. They didn't get their nose over their toes. They stayed on balance. And for the most part, they kept the Malakoff defensive line out of their backfield and let their quarterback make a play and do what he was doing. And I didn't even know the kid was a sophomore until they just told me in here. I said, man, that's a good way for a kid to graduate. He goes out as offensive and defensive player of the game. He's got 2 more. He got 2 more seasons.
He can do it 2 more times.
Hey, both these teams got a good chance of being back. They're both young.
Yeah.
Our buddy behind the camera here, Jimmy Waits from Omaha, Texas, had counted the seniors that Grandview had, and they graduate a few on the line. Other than that, they're 3 on the offensive line. Everybody else is back. Yeah, and, you know, Malakoff obviously brings a lot of experience back next year too. So this could be same song, second verse this time next year, right?
I've seen the state championship game for 2019 tonight.
That's right. So, yeah, it was before – let's see here. Before an attendance of 18,233 at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Grandview beats Malakoff 35-21 for the 3A Division. What is this? 2? 1. I'm sorry, Division 1 state championship. Hey, we got a good one opening up tomorrow morning. The 11 o'clock game. 3A or 4A Division 2 Cuero Gobblers taking on the Pleasant Grove Hawks.
Oh, yeah. We've got last year's state champion against a perennial powerhouse, a historically great team. It's going to be just a great one.
I think before we came into this state championship weekend, I think a lot of people pointed to this Cuero Pleasant Grove game, maybe outside of the Duncanville Galena Park North Shore game, is this Cuero Pleasant Grove game being the game that has the possibility of being a 1-point nip and tuck game the whole time. What do you guys see?
I see it being a really, really physical game. I mean, Pleasant Grove was that wing tee. They sprint up to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball in 3 seconds, and then, you know, and everybody thinks wing tee is just buck sweep and inside run game, but Pleasant Grove has a tremendous jet series.
Mm-hmm.
They run the jet, and then they fake all those jets and the quarterback keeps it, and you don't know where the ball is. Cuero has been good since football started in Texas. I mean, Robert Strait and the history with all that stuff. I mean, just and a good friend of mine coaches at Pleasant Grove, and I said, "How good is Cuero?" He said, "They're really good." And I said, "You're right." And then they got the kid that's committed to Texas,
Jordan Whittington, who's probably arguably one of the top 5. I think one of the top 5 football players in the state of Texas right now.
Well, I've heard many people say he's the top recruit in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him other than on film this year. Saw him twice in person last year, and unstoppable. They throw that Whittington kid in out of the Wildcat and just give him 8 yards. I mean, just move the sticks and just assume he's got 8, if not, taking 8 yards.
I know this summer when I clicked on my huddle page, the first thing that popped up was check out this kid from Cuero, and I saw he's got a 3-minute little highlight. Yeah, he's good. That guy can play. And so Pleasant Grove kids, they've won. They've lost 2 games in 2 years to a really good Gladewater team, a really good Carthage team.
Mm-hmm.
And
every chance in the world to win that Carthage game, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're this close to ending Carthage's winning streak before Liberty Hill did. They graduated a bunch from last year.
Yeah,
and they just reloaded with these kids.
When I talked to Coach Gibson this year at coaching school not coaching school, the coaches clinic in San Angelo, he was seriously saying, "Man, we graduated so much. It's going to be a challenge." Here he is.
Hey, the bracket, they're better than what a lot of people thought, and the brackets are just breaking right a little bit in Division II, I think, too. It's not quite the no disrespect to Division II, but it's not quite the gauntlet that we saw in Division I, out of the third round and on, to be honest with you. But it's still a very strong division. I mean, you still got 2 heavyweights going to duke it out tomorrow. One thing that would be a little bit of a concern to me for Pleasant Grove is, they're missing their best defensive player. He's been out for several weeks, Landon Jackson. They could really use him against this Cuero offense, who features Jordan Whittington, but also Carrion Grant. They got several playmakers on that side of the ball. And how nice would it be to be able to get in the backfield a little bit, get some penetration against that Cuero offense, and at least disrupt some stuff. Buddy of mine from Gilmer, who coaches at Gilmer, we were talking earlier this year when Jackson went out. He said, they're obviously a better team with Jackson. He said they're still really good, but actually now I feel they're a little bit more beatable because he was a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, for sure. I mean, anytime your best player goes out, that's like fighting at the Alamo without Davy Crockett. It's just not good. But he brings a whole different. I mean, he's a sophomore in high school with offers to Texas A&M and LSU and places like that play really good football. So him not being out there is key. I mean, because Cuero's best player is out there.
Yeah,
and their 2 best players are out there. Both their running backs are really, really talented player as well. But Pleasant Grove, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about before with those kids, getting that extra practice, getting them extra works. And when you run the wing tee, I mean, your kids are physical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's you practice physical. You run the slot tee, your kids are physical. That's what they do. And spread teams, you can be physical out of the spread, and y'all say it all the time on your show, spread's a formation. You're right. But spread gets the stereotype of being more finesse, and it doesn't have to be true, but in a state championship game, usually the team that plays the best defense and runs the ball is the team that wins, and that could be Pleasant Grove. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be Cuero, but that everything Pleasant Grove does leads them to be physical. They're perfectly fine with getting 4 yards of play and getting a first down and running 6-7 minutes off the clock, and then here you go, Cuero, go score. I mean, but we're going to get the ball back. We're going to score. You get the ball on offense. We're going to be here playing defense. I'm going to tackle you. I'm going to land on top of you. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to tap you on the head and say, I'll be back in 4 seconds.
Yeah, I'm with you on everything except for the analogy about the Alamo without Davy Crockett, because they still lost there.
They did still lose, but if Davy Crockett hadn't been there, it would have been much worse. Right. Is what I was saying.
Well, so what's your call tomorrow? What is your pick? Pleasant Grove and Cuero. The whole world sees this pick too, so you can't be wrong.
And I coached with a really good friend of mine from Cuero. He's not famous from Cuero. He's not Robert Schrader or anything like that. But Jeff Herta is my buddy from Cuero. He said he'll be here tomorrow and he'll be partying it up. I still have a bunch of buddies that coach at Pleasant Grove. I see it being really, really close. I'm gonna go with the Hawks. I'm going to go with the Hawks, even though last night on my Coach X picks, I picked the Jose Cuervos. But I'm going to go with the Hawks again.
Hey, we just got our after show plans on the way home. Jose Cuervos.
Hey, and before you go make your pick, I forgot I told Miss Susan Maxwell I'd appreciate her making my Coach X shirt.
Oh yeah,
at Grand
Nice. I like it.
It has the sideline to sideline logo on the back too. So. You hadn't shown that yet.
You want me to show it?
Yeah, turn it around. It's amazing he didn't get kicked out of AT&T Stadium tonight. Look at that. There you go, man. Isn't that great? Coach X, man, the infamous Coach X. All right, my pick. What's your pick going to
Well,
be?
I tell
I'm
you
going
what,
to piggyback off y'all.
I got you. And first, before I say that, look at us on the monitor. You're the only one that appears to be in color. We look like we're in black and white.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like all bright red.
The lighting's better for Grant.
got the
God's smiling
spotlight.
on Grant.
It's this HD headset. I got.
Anyway,
there you go.
so yeah, I love Cuero. I love Jordan Whittington. I love that program. I can't pick against Pleasant Grove.
And that's your neck of the woods. You
Yeah,
grew up
I
around
grew
there,
up
right?
there, yeah. I mean, these are my people.
Yeah.
But I can't pick against Pleasant Grove.
Well, since I grew up on I-30, just due west of Pleasant Grove or Texarkana, I'm going Pleasant Grove. I don't know, man. Cuero's played a pretty tough schedule, but I think if you just break it down,
Yeah.
I think Pleasant Grove has maybe been a little bit more battle tested.
Yeah.
So I like, what Jeremy alluded to, running the ball and playing defense.
Right.
And I know Cuero can do that. They can do that, but I think Pleasant Grove has done that against a few better teams. So I'm going Pleasant Grove, but I do think it could be considered a toss-up, and I think it's going to be close.
Well, just so we'll have something to argue about tomorrow, I'm changing to Cuero now. So we can argue.
All right. And loser buys popcorn.
There you go. Good deal.
All right.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it. And
Yeah.
we will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to start with a game or a show before the first game,
Mhm.
and then do one during each of the breaks. And I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say this show is brought to you by Friday Night Legends. Go check out the game, FridayNightLegends.com, where you can play all these great teams against each other. If you wanted to play the 2017 Mart against 2018 Mart, you could, and see the actual result.
Cosby versus Cosby back in the day.
Yeah. Well, we have 83 Dangerfield if you want a real challenge.
Oh, shoot.
They didn't give up any points, so they'd probably win.
All right.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.